Alright everyone, it's time for the Occult, video number 271. Why would you want to escape reincarnation? Just something I was thinking about, and I've come to a conclusion. Human spirituality, in the sense that it's generally consistent, is a product of human suffering because up until the last roughly 150 years in the world, the vast majority of the world's population were slaves and serfs. They were peasants. At most, if they were lucky, they had a little bit more farmland, and therefore they could keep a few more of their turnips. They were feudal. They were illiterate. They lived short lives. Most of their children died. The miscarriage, infancy, at birth, or in toddlership, and didn't even make it to a reproductive age. You had to have like 10 kids in order to make sure you had a slightly larger next generation, usually, unless you were very well off and very genetically fit. And so what I think happens, when you look, for instance, at Buddhism, the ultimate basic goal of Buddhism through many lifetimes is to escape from the multi-lifetime process altogether and become sort of at one-ness. And it's a difficult term for Westerners usually to understand or describe. It doesn't really mean to become as nothing. It means to return to the sort of grand total, if that makes any sense. I don't know, I'd have to make an hour-long video to try to explain it to people that have a more Western view. But if you look at Buddhism, liberation of a sort is basically the goal. When you look at Western religions, when you look at Christianity, for example, the goal is to leave the world behind. Death is considered to be quite a wonderful thing. Then there's the afterlife. And there might be a purgatory, or maybe you go to hell, but ultimately you're liberated from this particular realm in hopes of going somewhere better if you've if you believed in Jesus, or if you did charitable things, or if you belong, you get baptized or something. It depends on the Christian denomination. If you look at Islam, it's much the same. There's a sort of liberation from the mortal coil, and you enter into, hopefully, this is the hope, that you enter into paradise. And again, depending on the sect that you're listening to, that takes different forms. I always found it funny that the Quran speaks of rivers of wine in paradise, the Islamic paradise, when alcohol is banned in Islam. So you can't have a drink of wine, but once you're a spirit, I guess you can get drunk all day, and this is considered, to be a good good thing. I guess you've already done your charity and stuff, and now, it no longer matters. You can get intoxicated. Then you're wondering why, if you're in paradise, you would need to be intoxicated. It must be really good wine. It's not the sort of stuff that Hillary Clinton gets drunk off of when she's mad. But I'm thinking to myself, looking at it from more of a modern perspective, in which a large proportion of the world's population is now at least remotely comfortable. Slavery in most of the world is largely in the past, and unfortunately it still persists in the third world. It still persists, at least in an illegal sense, in the first world. Severest poverty has been declining over time, due to capitalism, by the way. It's stagnant in the centralized nations of the world, and sometimes going in the wrong direction. But by and large, people, even if you're in even the developing world, even the poor have a lifestyle, by and large, which is better than the lifestyle of the middle class insofar as it existed 200 or 300 years ago. And I'm thinking to myself, with the ability to improve the world, with the ability to progress mankind in some abstract way, you could say, not in every way, of course, I would argue. Things can move in reverse, unfortunately. We can destroy the environment, rip up the forests, and overpopulate things, and live like fucking rats in our own fucking feces. By and large, if I believe in the multiverse, or an infinite universe, which I do, and I believe in reincarnation, which I do, and I believe that there are other life forms out there too, which I do, and if I believe even remotely in the concept of evolution as applied to technology, which is obvious and observable, then I have to believe that life, in many cases, is slowly developing in favorable ways, such that life forms, at least that are sentient, slowly improve their living conditions, or they destroy themselves. And under a reincarnatory process, if a species is completely destroyed, like let's say we have a nuclear war, it doesn't really matter. You come out as an animal again, or maybe you're an alien, to our perspective. And by the way, assuming that reincarnation is real, I'm sure that it's not limited to just human beings being sentient. Even if you look at some of the Hindu scriptures, there are all sorts of various quasi-spiritual sentient races, fucking Nagas and shit like that, of various kinds. Even in Western lore, even in accepted Christian lore from the medieval era, You've got gnomes and sylphs and salamanders and undines and all of these other elemental spirits that are openly spoken of that don't even really fit in with the true Judeo-Christian initial canon, but are accepted. It's very strange and mystic, and Hermeticism is interesting, and alchemy is very fascinating, and you should study it all. By the way, collection of alchemy available on Amazon. But what I would say is, why would you want to escape reincarnation? If progress is continuously happening and you can add to that progress so that each successive moral coil is better potentially than the last, and if you're being what we would consider under these systems to be quote-unquote good, why would you want to escape that world? Wouldn't it be wonderful to know that you already are immortal and you're living forever and you just get to live infinite numbers of lives? Some of them won't be pretty. Some of them you get killed in infancy. Some of them, you're a slave or something. But over time, over the long span of billions and billions of years, you would envision that, generally speaking, evolution takes hold and those species begin to promulgate and advance themselves, and things get better. And even when there's cataclysm, even when a galaxy folds in on itself and explodes out into a massive supernova, killing 1,000 million life forms, well, they just reincarnate. And then, by the way, they die instantly, so it's not even a painful death. They probably don't even know they're dead. Maybe there really are space ghosts. Who knows? Just a little thought here. I thought I'd have another occult video. Definitely more philosophical than it is canonical in general. That's about all. Peace out.